You know who else had a coming out party? Dain Dainja for the Memphis Tigers. Let's jump into our big idea for the afternoon. The Tigers taking on UAB. Dain Dainja inserted into the starting lineup for the first time since November. And my guy took advantage of the opportunity. The big man doing pretty much whatever he wanted, scoring 6 of Memphis's first 13 points. Gets the big dunk right there. Steal in transition. Colby Rogers to PJ Haggerty to the big man up top. He dropped 16 of his 21 points in the first half and his scoring bug was contagious. The Tigers drop a season-high 52 points in the first half. They're up 13 at the break. In the first half, that was Dainja's. The second half was PJ Haggerty's. Gets the finish right here on another turnover. Continues to be unstoppable. Scores there. And then where are you going? Haggerty led all scorers with 23 points. And then how about we hang 100? PJ Carter, ISO P with 14 off the bench. That put the Tigers at the century mark. Memphis beats UAB 100-77 to claim the top spot in the AAC. Tigers shoot 70% in the second half, 9 of 17 from deep. Coach Hardaway said this one was a little personal.
This is a team that got picked over us, before the conference started, rightfully so, because they had so many returning players. And they should be undefeated before they came here because they had North Texas down like 20 points, and North Texas made a heck of a run and beat them there in North Texas, the first game of the year. So our preparation was they're the second fastest team in the country, and they're in the top 5 in offensive rebounds. Here's where we show separation amongst ourselves with the best in the league.
I seen they was picked above us earlier in the season. It wasn't really personal. It might have been a little personal, just wasn't really that personal. But yeah, just be able to come out strong and just win by 20 plus means a lot, especially at home in front of our fans.
I mean, UAB really thought that they were going to come in there and beat the Tigers at home. They were carrying momentum. They were looking good in conference. They only had one loss in conference, and the Tigers just sent them back home. I mean, that is what they needed to do, and they did it.
Do you think the Tigers did take this one personally? Did it feel like it was personal to you as you were watching it?
Yeah, no, it definitely felt personal, especially with the way that they started the game. And we've talked about these Tigers teams, this year's Tiger team, really struggling to get into games. And I think it's obvious when you can see that they really care about the games. And this was one. This was the first non-conference game outside of playing down in Boca where they really started out where it seemed personal. And against FAU, it's personal on another level too, because maybe some of these guys haven't played against these teams in the past, but it's personal to Penny, and they believe in Penny, and Penny motivates them. And so I would love to hear the halftime speech before this. I'm sure that there was a clip of UAB being picked to win the AAC this year, which, going into the season surprised a lot of people. Going into the season, we thought this Tigers team may not have the potential that last year's team does. Now they're proving that they have that and some. It was great to see Dain Dainja get back on the board, on the big board, really putting up points. But what Penny said, UAB is one of the best rebounding teams, one of the best in the country, but especially in the AAC. The Tigers come in and out-rebound them, bullied them throughout parts of the game. I thought the big turning point was, yes, they had a great first half, but they came out and in the start of the second half, throughout parts of the start of the second half, they applied that full court pressure. They created some key turnovers, and that's when they got it up to 24 points and really just punched them in the gut. Yeah, they did go on a little bit of a run because Memphis got lackadaisical with the passing, but that's just going to happen in a college basketball game. For the entire game, I thought that was one of the best performances that I've seen this year from them, and it was huge for their confidence, massive for their confidence. And the best part is they shut up the Blazers, who've done a lot of talking, and sent Yaxel and the boys back to Birmingham to go practice and get better.
I think this was one of those games where it did feel like start to finish, it was probably the best game we've gotten from the Tigers outside of maybe one of those non-conference games, maybe Ole Miss, maybe UConn, one of those. But in terms of just the team caring about the team that was coming into their building, trying to beat them, I think you had easy motivation for this one. I think we've talked to Penny Hardaway a couple of times this year where he says, these guys, they're not getting up for Wichita State. They're not getting necessarily up for FAU, even though they did blow them out, North Texas, some of those guys. When you get a team that you think the Tigers know how good they can be in terms of getting into the NCAA tournament, winning this conference, all those kinds of things, and the team that is picked over you walks into your building, I think that's an easy motivator for this team. I think they 100% acted like it. For Penny Hardaway, he pretty much said it. These guys cared, and it was pretty obvious from the way they practiced. It was pretty obvious from not feeling like they took care of business in the Wichita State game. So just a really all-around fantastic performance. I thought Dainja was great, but Haggerty really carried them in that second half. It kind of seemed like he just kind of picks his spots.
Yeah, it was clear they certainly cared about that game, and now it's like, okay, can they keep caring every game from here on out? Because that's what they have to do. 38 made field goals, second most in any game under Penny Hardaway. They now start the season 16-4, which is the best 20-game start under Penny as well. So really great statistics, but now it's, okay, what can we do to keep it going? I think Penny deserves a lot of credit. We were kind of grilling him a little bit on Thursday night after the very narrow escape against Wichita State, where they had 20 turnovers. And they came out in a completely different mood, mindset. Obviously, that's getting up for the game, but also just their handling of the ball. You mentioned there, for the most part, they were really clinical in holding onto the ball and not turning it over, not being just whimsical with where they were passing it, and really making sure they were passing it to the right guys who were looking at them. There was a flourish of, I think, 3 quick turnovers in the second half that spanned about a minute.
Back to back to
yeah.
back.
And then they let UAB get a 7-0 run under their belts, but they called a quick timeout, got themselves sorted, and back into normal action there. That was literally the only time in the game where I was like, they don't know if they look that great in this very moment. But outside of that, it was wire to wire. Super impressive win from the Tigers. 5 guys in double figures, shot 62% from the floor, 24 more points in the paint, 32 points off turnovers, 24 assists, a season high, which goes to show not only how well they were holding onto the ball and being able to pass and deliver it in good situations, but also just finding each other and being in a rhythm and in a groove. And you saw that from that opening play with Dain Dainja getting the dunk, and it just started there and never let up.
Well, 9 of those assists went to PJ Haggerty, and I think it's easy to rack up the assists when you have the kind of performance that Dain Dainja was having. I mean, every time he touched the ball, he was incredible. We got a chance to talk to him. 21 points on this particular game, a season high for him, and we asked him about the scoring performance as well as what Penny Hardaway had to do in inserting him in the starting lineup.
Yeah, I felt like it was a good play, but I just coming out with good energy the whole time. I felt like today was one of my better defending games. So yeah.
I was like, okay, I'm going to do it now. This has been happening, been thinking about it for a couple months, or a month at least. And exactly what I thought was going to happen happened. He went out there and dominated. And Musa's going to be Musa starting or coming off the bench. Had 9 points, 8 rebounds in 15 minutes. So that's what we need, those guys to dominate in that fashion.
So it's interesting to me that Penny says, I've been sitting on this for a month. And it's hard to criticize because obviously the Tigers are 16-4. They've been winning a lot of games. I don't think we're in a position to criticize. But for him to be like, you know what? I'm going to put Dain in this game and just kind of see what happens. And then Dain comes out and it's like literally every time he touches the ball, it's a bucket. He's getting alley-oop dunks. He's putting his back to the basket. He's putting his shoulder in guys' chests. I think we talked to Dain. He said he didn't really know who Yaxel Luxembourg was. He's like, I knew he was good. Didn't know he was like player of the year until we got the scout. I was like, I don't know if that's true, Dain, because it feels like you came out a little extra motivated.
There was a purpose there.
It was a purpose there in showing that I might be the best big in the league. And Caleb, you seem to feel some type of way about it.
You got Yaxel there. You called him Yaxel Luxembourg.
What's
you named him Lindenborg.
I
thought you did that on purpose.
No.
I thought you did
My
that on
apologies.
purpose.
No disrespect.
Did you or did you know? Because I mean,
No,
that's what
no,
Dain
no,
said too.
yeah,
right?
Yaxel's watching everything out of Memphis media. He needs a little
Collecting all of it.
motivation.
Lindenberg, I apologize.
I think that definitely did add some extra motivation. Yaxel, after they won, putting the cowboy hat on, the AAC championship, that is, putting the cowboy hat on, really soaking it in. You can't hate on the young man. It's a big moment for him. But yeah, that's the type of player that Yaxel is. He goes off of vibes. That's how he seemingly gets himself motivated. I think the biggest reason why Penny started Dain is because Dain is more mobile than Musa Cisse is, who's the other guy who they had guarding Yaxel. And I thought Dain had much more success on Yaxel as well. But really what they were able to do is limit those easy inside passes because the Tigers' perimeter defense was so good. I thought that their perimeter defense looked incredible throughout the entire game, and that's a big reason why. But every time that they did get the ball down low, Dain was making it difficult. Musa was making it difficult. You had Nick Jourdain coming in from the other side, from the help side, really helping out. But yeah, I think that Dain did feel a little bit of extra motivation. Dain's not going to give a lot away in the post-game press conference. He's just not that.
Talker.
No, he's not that guy. But I'm sure his teammates after the game were like, there was a shoving match,
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, like, oh, you got him, Dain. And, this is nothing new for Dain. He's been a great player in Division I basketball. But yeah, a little bit of extra motivation.
I mean, Yaxel did have 18 and 10, right? So it wasn't like he didn't have a double-double in what many would consider a good game when you look at the box score. But at the same time, he shot 5 of 15 from the floor. He had, I think, 5 assists, but he also had 4 turnovers. They made it really difficult on him to score. A lot of his scoring also came from the free throw line. So I think it was really cool that Dain said, this is one of my better defending games. Like, I think that's been kind of I don't want to call it a knock, but it's like, okay, Dain's the offensive big and Moose is the defensive big, and Dain can't necessarily handle some of these better bigs in the league. And he's like, no, I can do it on both ends. And it was really impressive. You could kind of see it in his eyes. He's like, nah, these guys can't stop me. And it was cool to watch.
I like to see just the move from Penny to be willing to switch something up at this point in the season. We've talked about, and we talked about just a little bit ago, the slow starts have been a constant for them, and to see him go to someone else to try and figure that out and get things going. We all know their defense turns into offense, and we saw that again yesterday. The defense was allowing them to play fast and get the ball up the court, and I think that was a really great move. I think I've said it a couple times on the show, I wanted to see him in that starting lineup to see what that would do for them. And I'm not saying that, you see it once and it works well, that it's going to continue on, but that's a really good step in the right direction for just Memphis in a mindset going forward, moving forward, putting him back on the court in that starting 5 and seeing what he can do. I thought he was super impressive. It's not surprising to see that kind of performance from him.
That's what they thought they were going to get from him.
Right, but it felt like, okay, you've been kind of on the verge, you've had some really good games, but this felt like a breakout game for him in regards to, I'm dominant, not only for this team, but in this league, and you're going to watch me for the rest of this season.
Shout out to Penny, too. He said he had talked to Musa Cisse about moving from the starting lineup into a reserve role, and for Musa to come in, still be really good defensively, still give you what you needed, on the boards. He said it 9 points, 8 rebounds. I think that says a lot about where these two guys are and really the maturity of the team overall, but that offense was incredible. Tigers top 100 points for the first time this season, thanks to a 3-ball from P.J. Carter. Go ahead and pull it up for me real quick. 3 of his 14 points coming off the bench. This was the final score of the game. Tigers went crazy on the celebration. They actually mobbed P.J. after this 3. That put them at 100 points. We had P.J. Haggerty in the postgame, not P.J. Carter, but I asked him about touching triple digits in the reaction afterwards.
Nah, PJ, we was talking about this before the game. He was like, I need my ISO. And we was like, I bet. So got the ball in his hand. We had 97. It was just time for the ISO, so everybody just standing up. And we just was just excited when he made it.
So hard to score 100 points in a college basketball game. I mean, they have 8 less minutes, right? Offense a little bit more stagnant. But for them to walk it down, PJ basically was like, yeah, give me my Kobe moment real quick. And pull the tray ball in Buddy's eye. I thought it was just so funny. But I love the bench reaction because Penny naturally could have been like, nah, hold the ball. It would have been a team turnover. It would have been a big deal. They would have ended, 97-77. But Penny was like, I don't think Penny gave him the green light necessarily, but Penny wasn't like, he didn't say hold it either. And so to see the reaction from the team on this 3-ball was just so funny to me because they absolutely mobbed him. It was something that was clearly nice. And then for PJ too, 14 points off the bench. I want to say that might have been his season high, but it was impressive for him to come off and play the way he did. I think the scoring was really contagious all around.
Yeah, I like to think that they're in a huddle, like he's saying, I need my ISO before the game, but at the end, everybody's laughing, the game's over, we beat UAB, and then PJ's sitting there like, no, guys, I need my ISO.
I need my ISO.
They're like, all right, PJ, we'll give it to you.
Whatever you need, bud.
This was really telling. He had some mid-range shots, too. He's a true shooter, and they really need him going forward, especially if they want to make a tournament run, because somebody's going to have an off night, and if he can come in there and get around 10 points, if he can average around 10 points the remainder of the season, and that's a big ask because he hasn't really been close to that throughout the season. But he's proven that he's a good shooter. I think the reason why he hasn't played as much is defensively. Yeah. But the way that Penny's been playing him, instead of, Barack Okoje's been dealing with some stuff, not has been playing as much. I think that the way that he's been playing him lately shows that Penny has more trust in his defensive ability. He definitely has a good defensive guard build overall. And so if he can get his defense down on the level of his offense, he could be a really, really nice rotation player for the AAC tournament and for the NCAA tournament.
Rach, what'd you think about the 3-ball for 100?
Yeah, I loved it. I mean, you got to go for it, right? I think the celebration just shows like, yeah, cool, we got a good win, but we did it together, right? And the amount of players that had to score to get to those 100 points, it's not easy in college basketball to be putting up 100, and they made it look easy yesterday. I thought it was a great team win and fun for him to get the celebration and for him to be the guy, because, I mean, so often, you know, we're saying it's the other PJs.
It's about Colby, we're talking about PJ
Haggerty,
yeah.
Tyrese Hunter. It was cool to see someone else kind of be the guy. You talk about the PJs, I just saw it pop up. PJ Haggerty, 4-time AAC Player of the Week, just dropped as well. So
oh, nice.
They've got a wealth of players on that team, and it's cool to see all of them kind of slotting into their positions. But I think PJ Haggerty is just always going to be the guy that is leading them. He has been good in every single game we've watched him play this season, and without him, in my opinion, that team is not what it is.
Absolutely. So we'll see if they can top 100 points again on Thursday. They got Tulane. That game will be actually in New Orleans, so they'll take on the Green Wave.